I don't feel a pressure to save anyone. Like, I believe everyone is saved and they just don't know it. And some people deny that and they don't live that active faith out that they're saved. But it definitely changed how I preach and how I even feel about people. Like, I'm here to serve people and give them communion. That's my job. And before, it was like, you got to save people from the grasps of hell, and all that, and too much pressure. So it totally changed how I preach in a good way, and also just my demeanor around people. But I have not found in my situation that it makes people lazy with church. I've actually seen the opposite, where it allows people to want to come to church because we're talking about things that they've always wanted to talk about. So I think, if you look at most evangelical churches right now, they're talking about wokeness, they're talking about transgender, they're talking about homosexuality, they're talking about politics, right? I just listen to it over and over and over. But most people are kind of done with that. They want to go deeper. And this is about as deep as it gets. Jesus goes into Hades and cleans it out, so it actually has spurred a huge fire in people's faith. And I can't even tell you, man, how many people at the door, because I always shake hands at the door after church, and they say, you are allowing us to think of things or say things that we've thought our entire life. So church attendance, I don't know. I don't ask people. And we don't ever count our attendance, but our church has grown, and we call ourselves a refugee church because there's a lot of people who've thought about this for a long time and they weren't allowed to think about it or say it. So they come to Zootown to at least say their view and say their opinion, and it excites them that they're allowed to be a part of the conversation. The one criticism I've heard is it'll make people sin. If everyone's going to get in, it's going to make people sin, right? Everyone doesn't care and they're just going to sin. And I've actually found the complete opposite, because what we do is we tell people that Christ is redeeming this planet. He's redeeming us now. And so evangelicals believe he's going to burn this whole place to the ground and start over. That's not what the scriptures say. He says it's going to die and resurrect. He's redeeming this planet. So we portray it to our people that we are partnering with God in the restoration of all things. Like, what a great vision statement, right? It's not, we're going to go take our city for Jesus, because our city's already Jesus's. So we have flipped that whole vision, and now we're partnering with God in this short life we have to restore the world. So in 50 years, it's better than when we were here, because he's restoring this planet. So when you give this message that everyone's going to be good and everyone is already forgiven, now they need to start acting like it. That's the kingdom, is you are saved, you are good, you are forgiven. So start acting like it. I've seen way more fruit from that than, someday we're going to be perfect and he's going to burn this place to the ground. So let's just drudgery get through this life. That's kind of the evangelical message, if you really think about it. Like, this place is a crap hole. God's going to burn it. So don't sin so you don't get burned. I mean, that's a terrible motivation to do anything, and that's why we don't care about the planet, all kinds of stuff, So this message is key to Christians to get to work and to get busy at restoring this planet, because that's what we've been called to do through the grace of Jesus Christ. So as far as freedom, yeah, it's given up people a lot of freedom, and people aren't as nervous or scared as they used to be. But I'll take that over force-willed religion, to people thinking they have to come to church or else they're going to get burned, or else God's mad at them. So I think it does. I have seen it with the deconstruction crowd. I have seen that, where universalism has basically led them to Gnosticism in a lot of ways. It's like, Jesus, oh yeah, he's so cool, but but I'm like, no, he's the guy. We're not leaving him. He's not one of many. So I have seen that with the deconstruction crowd. I will say that universalism isn't very, I agree with Origen and those dudes that it isn't very motivating to get people to not sin when they don't have fear. But I just haven't seen it, man. I've seen people super excited, and they've dedicated more to the scriptures and more to Jesus and wanting to restore this planet. Paul had this same issue, that his people were sinning. And so why did he write a letter and say, so now that we're forgiven, do we continue to sin? So the question I pose then, either one, Paul was a universalist, which I believe he was. And he was saying, okay, guys, just because we're saved doesn't mean we can't keep sinning, Or if he was an eternal conscious torment guy, That didn't stop people from sinning either, because he had to write letters saying like, hey, you've been crucified with Christ. You've been, your sin has been nailed to the cross. So that didn't motivate people either to not sin. So I think that argument's kind of dumb, because people sin because we're people and we have a sin nature, not because we believe in a heaven or hell. That's just not a great motivation. So I don't know. I can't speak for everybody else, but for us, it's been incredibly motivating, and people are reading way more. Because I tell the people, you can't live off my faith, and I don't care if you believe what I believe or not, but you at least have to put in the work, and you have to study, and you have to do this. So it's actually, look, so last Christmas, we brought in St. Athanasius's book and sold out of it, So I think it's motivated people to actually read more, study more, listen more, and actually figure out this faith for themselves instead of listening to some pastor tell them what they should and shouldn't be doing. So I'll take that freedom and chaos over religious control any day. We have just created a culture at Zootown Church where people think for themselves, read for themselves, and they can express their points of view in the current space that they're in. And so I guess we have a culture where if people want to push eternal conscious torment now, they just leave. So it's kind of a win-win. It's kind of like, that's fine. Go do that, But we definitely have people who are eternal conscious torment people, but they don't care, because they're just like, we don't know, we don't know. And our job is to just share the gospel right here, right now. So that's, our one thing I keep saying at all my sermons is basically, no matter what you land in this area, the main thing is love God with all your heart, mind, and strength. That's the main thing. So that's what we push to people, is like, no matter where you land, we're all doing the same thing or have the same goal, to love our Lord, our God with all our heart, mind, and strength. So when you can cut through all the hills people want to die on and just get to one hill, that actually helps a lot. And so we die on Calvary. That's what we do at Zootown. We die on Calvary, and we believe he saved everyone. How that works out, we don't know. And we let people decide that for themselves. And that has really sparked energy in our church, because people are talking about it and they're wrestling with it. And so I think it's been a huge positive thing, even with the eternal conscious torment people. But not everyone made it. I mean, we lost tons of people, but it's usually the law keepers who struggle with this.